welcome back to Radiant Damage Podcast. We are your hosts for this evening, and now I actually will know, hopefully, where everyone's boxes are, because I'm screen recording this one so that everyone will be in frame. Skype. So today, we are going to be your hosts. It is Cleric Alyssa. I'm Paladin Ashley, this is Paladin Harley, and Paladin Jake. We are a team of mostly Paladins, but we do always need a Cleric. You always need a Cleric. Remember that, even if you're a Paladin. Nobody has enough healing power on their own, okay? So anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us. If you like our content, please remember to give our video a like. Please remember to subscribe if you'd like to join our medieval army and become knighted. It is immediate. You just have to stab the subscribe button with the weapon of your choice. But remember that that weapon becomes permanently bound to you once you use it to subscribe. Anyway, so today we have some geeky news that we'd like to discuss with y'all, and we're going over several different things. We might not be able to cover everything in this episode, but we will definitely attempt to cover a great deal. So the first thing that we're going to talk about, I think that all of us have some interesting feelings on the bat suit, which has finally been fully revealed. I definitely was not expecting it to look so practical. Get it right in front of me again.
I would like to give my first thought.
Go for it.
It looks kind of like, it reminds me, I won't say it full on looks like, because it doesn't, but it definitely, the first thing I saw when I saw those shoulder pads and the arms was a hockey goalie.
Yes.
Like a person in hockey, and the goalie specifically. I'm not necessarily saying, I'm not trying to like actively throw shade, but like, I think I am wondering if that's a bad thing, that's the first place that my mind went.
That's a good way of phrasing it, because that is a good question. Is like, if that's the first place your mind goes when you see it.
Does that mean, is that bad? Or is it just so different that I need to, because there could be other things that maybe it looks like, because I get like, if you think about the reasons that goalies, hockey goalies wear that kind of stuff, it is for protection.
Yeah.
So they could be like a practical choice. But I'm also like, I immediately look at the shoulders, and I don't know if you want to, if looking at the shoulders is that really where we want to first look?
Eye drawn to at first glance, probably not.
Yeah.
All the ears are cute though.
Yeah, the ears are adorable. I actually was not expecting the ears to be so gosh darn cute. Which
So,
again, is that a good thing? Exactly. That's my personal opinion. Is like, I don't know, because personally I know everybody has different opinions about whether they prefer long ears on Batman or short ears. I think I'm somewhere in between.
Same.
But I feel like if they're too long, that looks a little bit weird and like impractical. But if they're too short, it's just too cute. You know, it's just like, it's closed. It's fine. I did drop them also. That's fine. This is why I close it, because I know I do this all the time. It's fine. Okay. But yeah, I feel like personally they're a little too cute for me. What do you guys think?
I like a nice happy medium in my bat ears. Like, it depends on, like, if it's a comic, it depends on the art style. Like, if it works, then that's great. But normally, like, you don't need devil horns on your Batman.
Yeah.
Like, it's a little ridiculous. But so a good happy medium. Like, I don't know, around here. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the shorter ears work best for live action.
Yeah.
I think the longer ears, they kind of look, because these, I'm looking at it now, it looks kind of it's a little bit too long for me.
Yeah.
Really?
The ears. Maybe a little bit shorter, but it just looks kind of comical a bit. So I think I would prefer the shorter ears, like Ben Affleck had it.
Yeah. I totally understand. Personally, I feel like they're already like really short for me, so I feel like they look like kitten ears. I feel like he's kawaii.
Like, you know what? I think it would help if it was more on the side, because that's actually more. When I'm looking at the photo right now, it's because they're directly on the top.
Yeah.
And I feel like with bat ears, it's much more on the side. I think that's where they.
At least with Batman's, like his is always, it's kind of been like a straight shot.
Yeah, this seems more on the front or on the top. And that's not, I don't quite think that.
Yeah. And that, again, like, totally a different choice. Maybe they were trying to be more practical because, like Paladin Jake said, it is more practical to have the shorter ears for on-screen Batman. I think that's a really good point. I like the fact that they went a little more armored with this look. The shoulder pads don't fully bother me because I feel like it looks cohesive enough, just cohesive enough, but they are a tiny bit distracting. I feel like if he had,
I think maybe it's the segments.
yeah. It's segmented kind of like a little disjointed. You know, fine.
Could be a practical reason. I don't know why people segment, but if it is just for look, then I kind of wish it maybe had been different. Again, it's more just like I had a thought. That was my first thought. Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's bad, but it was my first thought was hockey goalie. So take that however you want to take that. Actually,
I love the utility belt so much. I love that he has the utility belts. I love his gauntlets. What I would presume you'd call them gauntlets. Even in this case, he's very armored. You know, and I love it. It kind of really reminds me of like a little bit like medieval armor in the way that it's segmented, and I think that's why it's not bothering me, is because I'm like picturing like medieval bats, and I friggin' love that. So that helps a lot. Clearly that is my aesthetic.
I feel like it's just like a modification to his actual suit. I don't think that he's gonna wear this the whole movie. It might just be a specific mission that he needs more armor. Because it looks like it's daylight for one. I mean, I don't know what he's doing out there in daylight, but I feel like it's just, you know, tactical. So he's using for maybe Penguin has a bunch of weapons or something, and he's just, you know, going after that, or dealing with Firefly, who has like a flamethrower. So maybe it's just something to protect him from that or something. So
if he was dealing with Firefly, I would recommend that he cover his face.
Because there's a rumor that Firefly is in it, so I'm not sure if he is, but it's a rumor, so it could just be something for that.
That would be freaking awesome because they've used Firefly on Gotham, but they really have underutilized that villain, and I would love to see her in live action on the in the DCEU. That would be freaking awesome. Or are they still calling it the DCEU? I heard something.
I don't think it's even called that anymore. I don't even know if they know what it's called.
I know.
I think they just call it DC Films.
Friggin' quit changing it up on me. I don't like change. Just kidding. Anyway, Warner Brothers, what are you doing? They don't even.
No idea.
Yeah, they say that a lot of their movies right now. So
it's true.
Just don't mess up Tomb Raider. I'll be happy. And Fantastic Beasts.
Oh my God! Yeah, they've done a really good. Their Harry Potter department has been pretty good. So I mean, like, I trust their Harry Potter department. Their DC Comics department, I'm not sure, you know, how. I'm sure there's no overlap there, but like, whoever is in charge of the DC Comics area, that's a hit and miss. It just depends on the characters promoting.
A lot of cooks in that kitchen. Just too many. You can't keep track of them.
Too many. Like, I feel like they give more liberties to the Harry Potter division. And maybe it's J.K. Rowling. Maybe she's the reason because she has the rights to it. So she can probably, like, you know, veto stuff that the studio tries to throw in there.
She can give them the, like, no, you can't do that. Much easier than you can an army of lawyers for comics. So
I still feel like Warner Brothers stick their hands in that too, honestly.
I mean, absolutely they do. I mean, they can't help themselves. They're like,
I mean, it was supposed to be a trilogy, and then suddenly it's 5 movies. So I mean, yeah,
that's the studio decision right there. Yeah. You got to make that money.
Make that dough. I'm literally making dough right now in the oven. Anyway, so it's perfect. Yeah, that's a really good point. And unfortunately, a lot of times they end up shooting themselves in the foot in that way, though, because when they interfere too much, they end up losing out on a lot of dough, and it's frustrating to watch because you know that's their reason behind meddling so much. It's to try to make more money, to squeeze more out of their franchises, and yet they end up ruining that by interfering so much. It's just a vicious cycle, and they just do not seem to learn from it. It's really frustrating to watch.
One thing
I was like, there's no way BVS should.
One thing I do really like about the outfit that I think is a great choice is the bat symbol and finding out that it's made of the gun that killed his parents.
Yeah, like it
That's-
hasn't been confirmed. Like, what else could it be? You know
I
what I
hope
mean?
that's
Like,
what it is. If it's not, that's gonna be sad.
Yes,
The
because
only gun Batman owns besides a grappling gun.
yes, exactly. Yeah, no, that I love that.
That would be-
I'm in love
that-
with that.
Yeah, I hope that's right
for
because that would
reason.
be amazing. That's I'm like you did no complaints,
Yes.
no guesses. That's just good.
And honestly, like, okay, I'm gonna say this. I have a point to make on this one. So the fact that the suit is bulkier, it actually helps to make up, okay, two things. It helps to make up for the fact that Robert Pattinson himself is not nearly as beefy as Ben Affleck. That's an equivocal, that's an undeniable fact, right? He is just scrawny in comparison, but who isn't, right? So like Ben Affleck's huge. Okay, but in addition to that, it actually would help his identity to hide his identity better as Bruce, because if his suit is so bulky that it's making him literally look more muscular than he actually is, unless Robert Pattinson has been really going at it at the gym, I mean, I'm pretty sure that it's just all in the suit. And so considering that, it's more protection, so great, but it actually helps to disguise his physique better. So it makes him look more like he's a totally different person. So even if you recognize his lower half, you're like, but that person is like scrawny, and then this guy, you know.
Couldn't be Bruce Wayne. Look how skinny that guy is.
You're right.
That chin does actually look like
yeah.
it matches the body. Now it could be because they're kind of pushing it with the outfit itself, because sometimes they've done that before.
Yeah.
But that looks kind of like, I am wondering if maybe he beefed up, and I'm a little curious of how he would look beefed up actually, because I've only ever imagined him being relatively slender.
Like we've only ever seen him shirtless as Edward when he's sparkling.
Which is, for me especially, is not a good first impression.
Marred in our subconscious. Anyways, it's just started.
Apparently, he has been working out. They sent him to Batman school gym. So,
oh, is that anything like cat? I want to know if that's anything like cat school. Oh my god, yes, Bat College. I would love to go
Let's
there.
not send anybody else to cat school. No.
It's like echolocation 101. And they're like, what are some of the courses we would learn at Bat College? I'm sorry, now I'm like really thinking about it. Oh my god, yes. Okay, anyway. Cute things are happening in my mind. Okay, so yeah, ultimately I think that the suit looks really good. I think the ears are probably shorter for practical reasons, and I'm totally fine with that. If it's for aesthetics, I don't necessarily agree with that choice, but that's just because, like Paladin Harley said, not my bat ear choice. So
I still think that these costumes we're seeing are not the final product. Like,
I totally agree.
This has got to be like a year one Batman story. So he's probably going to go through like 3 different bat suits throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
I still think like by the end of the movie, he'll have a official Batman suit. Like by the end.
Is anybody hoping for bat nipples in the final? Because
No.
probably attached.
You don't need to be that nostalgic with Batman right now.
Rubber.
They should do it just for the nostalgia.
Yeah, just give him bat nipples just because they can.
Yeah,
cherry on top, man. That would be the cherry on.
Like, if he doesn't have the bat credit card, then who cares?
Yeah.
You know, you can have the bat nipples, bat credit card.
It was a fantastic movie, and I don't care what anybody says. Batman and Robin is a fantastic movie, and I love
There's no shame there. There's no shame at all.
I love you, Jake. I know
In the theater, I can't say anything.
You can say whatever you want. It's a good
Just
movie.
say whatever you want. This is safe space. This is safe space, Dad.
It came out 47 years ago. Go ahead.
Yeah. The trauma's still there. But, okay, but I loved it. It was Batman. So of course I liked it.
It's okay. You can say whatever you want because rubber lips are immune to your charms.
I don't actually think I've seen it, but from what the
You
few
need to watch it.
from the few clips I've seen and the way you're reacting, I assume it's kind of almost good in the way that Cats was good.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's awful.
Then
Then
I
I think
think-
makes it amazing.
Okay. I think I would be
It's
interested for
awfully good.
the with that mindset in order to enjoy it.
Okay, so that's one of the lines in the movie. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. Can I spoil something
go ahead.
for you? I'm gonna spoil something about Batman and Robin. So if you haven't seen that movie,
Skip like 4 minutes ahead.
okay, exactly. We're gonna talk about it for a while. Okay, so like literally Poison Ivy, like she has like a lipstick or whatever that like she can poison people with,
By
right?
kissing them.
By kissing them. And so she tries to pull that on Robin and she kisses him and he wore like
that's the only thing I've heard about it. The nipples and that part.
He peels off the lips and he goes, rubber lips are immune to your charms. And I'm like, A+ writing.
Okay.
Yes. Oscar worthy for you. Oscar for you.
Okay.
Oscar.
So like Cats, in which case it would be a blast.
Okay. Absolutely. It's fantastic. Mr. Freeze makes nothing but ice puns. He's played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's played by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
This sounds like an amazing movie.
It's incredible.
Very amazing.
It's so much fun. I'm not overhyping it. I'm genuinely as it is.
It's whatever you imagine a bad late 90s movies that's so bad is good. It's kind of like that.
Yep, it was amazing. Great memories from my childhood.
It's every bad superhero movie in one movie.
So I'm gonna actually go ahead and tell you how bad it was. Okay, so it was so bad that the director himself apologized for it. The director, Joel Schumacher, apologized to fans for it. That's how bad it was. It's that bad. Everybody hated it or loved it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
So
I think so bad it changed Batman in movies for years.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh my God. But it was so bad. That's why we got the Dark Knight trilogy. So the Christopher Nolan trilogy was because it was so bad. He was inspired. He was like,
we're all in positive and negatives as well.
I feel this wound. You have to fix this for the fans. So I am impressed. I know that Robert Pattinson's a good actor. I think he's going to do a good job. Is there anybody who has any feelings on? Because I remember, and you guys might probably remember better than I do, like why Ben Affleck was kicked. There was some sort of I think it was during the Me Too movement controversy that came up with him. Was that the reason why he was removed? Because he was actually set to direct this next Batman.
I never actually knew that.
I don't think he was removed. I think it was just a lot of pressure because he just sort of gradually left. They kept asking him every interview. He actually got really annoyed, didn't want to interview. And it's like every time I talk to someone, they're like, "Oh, Batman, Batman, Batman." I mean, it's gonna come out when it's gonna come out. And then one day you heard he's not gonna direct anymore. That he's still gonna be Batman. And
Okay,
I actually hold on. I actually have that in one of our stories we talked about earlier. So.
Thank you. Okay, awesome. Harley to the rescue. Okay. I thought he was to leave.
Ben Affleck gets candid about his real reasons for leaving the role of Batman. I showed somebody the Batman script that I had worked on. They said, "I think the script is good. I also don't think you should. I also think you'll drink yourself to death if you go through this Batman thing again."
Ooh.
That's why he left. He was having his personal problems, and left. He just didn't want to deal with all that trauma anymore. So that's
sucks, bro.
Harley, you can't see your eyes.
You gotta lean back again. Sorry. Yeah, dude, bro. Oh man, that sucks. Yeah.
Harley, we can't see your eyes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, there you go. We have to see your beautiful face. Yeah. If we're the A-team, you're the face, dude.
That's what everybody's here for.
Yeah, exactly. You bring the views, man.
Yes.
So, thanks.
I'm curious to move.
Yeah, man. No, so thank you so much, dude. Okay, so that really honestly makes sense because, and I was talking to my husband about this the other day. It's there's a pattern with DC stuff is if it involves Batman or Superman, it's critically put through the shredder just almost instantly. Because nobody can measure up to, even critics are fans of comics, you know what I mean? Specifically those two characters and their universes respectively, their worlds, right? So that if it has to do with Batman or Superman, a lot of times critics have too high standards for those characters, and they will end up often just mutilating these movies, like just holding them to an impossible standard when they review them. And so it ends up this pattern. And that's why there's conspiracy theories among DC fans that like Marvel's being, like Marvel's paying critics to like give them good reviews and DC doesn't cough up the dough, you know what I mean? And so it's like, that's dumb. So get out of here with that.
Then you just look at the way the people who are cast in the roles are treated. They're just attacked relentlessly online, just like, you suck, you can't play this character, you're too small, you're too big, you suck as an actor.
Exactly.
Who wants to deal with that?
He did always seem super exhausted in his interviews. Like Henry Cavill, like, with the two of them together, Henry Cavill is like, seemed to do a better job. Like he was able to keep upbeat. But they asked about specifically Superman versus Batman.
Yeah, Batman
and I remember looking at, like, there were memes made of it, of just like, hello darkness, my old friend. And it's just like, oh yeah, he looks exhausted. I could see him just wanting to leave because he just looked like like that was like. Now I remember. That makes a lot of sense.
It does.
I remember. I mean, I didn't like that part either, but I could see people when they get super mean. Yeah, about how he just. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense. Like, I mean, I personally, if I had to choose, it would be a no-brainer. I would choose Marvel to work with rather than DC, like rather than Warner Brothers specifically. But even just the DC fans, I wouldn't want to work with them. I'm sorry. Like, it's just too often there's too many radical crazies that are coming out of the woodworks with DC fans. And I've noticed it does seem to happen a lot more with them because their franchises they've accrued fans from the 60s. Like these are people who've been fans since like, way before we were born. And so there's too many voices that are just like, looking at these franchises through nostalgia lenses, and so nothing can be good enough for them. It's exactly the same problem with the Star Wars fandom.
I was just about to say, Batman fans are the Star Wars fans. It's too big for it.
It is, and I totally understand not wanting to subject yourself to that, like for your own mental health. And that's partly like, it's not only that too, but like Batman in particular is also like a really dark, like you're technically playing a crazy person. So if you were really method or whatever and trying to get into that mind space, that also would be really hard on you. Just like playing the Joker is really hard on people. So anyway, so yeah, ultimately, I think we all agree it's pretty cool, like what they're doing. They seem to be doing a cool job so far. I'm excited to see more, and hopefully we even get to see some variety in the costume. And hopefully we get to see some bat nips. Anyway, just kidding. Okay, so it looks like the next thing that we have on here is oh my god, no way! I actually have not looked at these, you guys. I'm serious. I'm so bad at like not preparing for these. So Venom 2, Tom Hardy shares a first look at Woody Harrelson as Cletus Cassidy. Oh my goodness! Let's see. Have you guys seen this yet?
Yeah. So.
I was taking a look at it.
Oh, it's literally Cletus, so we don't get to actually see it.
Yeah.
It's not Carnage. It's just what.
I was clickbaited. I mean,
I'm excited for Venom 2. Period, because I was able to have a lot of fun watching it.
It was a fun movie. Yeah. It was enjoyable. They knew how to actually have fun with that one.
I think that's why.
Still not 100% sold on the non-Spider-Man connection, but it wasn't.
Oh yeah. Bad. If you think about.
I need the spider on the chest. I need him slinging webs. I need it, but
yeah, dude.
Maybe one day, Dick. Maybe one day.
Do whatever you want. I guess.
Give it a couple years. I'm sure.
Let's just bring on Madam Web. I know that's coming next. Just do what you do, Sony.
I liked how Venom just looked. I thought the CGI was. I think that a lot of people didn't like it. I don't know. I'm just assuming. But I know that I liked it, and I thought it was pretty cool, and I liked seeing the symbiotic relationship.
Yeah,
I love that.
Stuff like that, so it was easier.
Everybody loved about the movie.
I love that symbiote idea. I think that's pretty cool. So that's always been good. And I do like his design, despite the spider on his chest. I mean, he had something there. So yeah, the design wasn't bad.
The design looks like the Ultimate Comics Venom before he got the spider suit, where it's just all black. So like when Eddie Brock had like in the Ultimate Comic, he didn't have a spider suit. He was just he's big roided out black Venom. So
yeah, dude. Let's see. So, oh my gosh, so like Disney's eating everything. So they acquired Fox. That's crazy. I don't remember when that. I feel like that happened a little while ago, but I didn't remember exactly like ever seeing a confirmation of when Disney acquired Fox. But yikes that they canceled a bunch of Aliens video games that were in development. I know they've been canceling a lot of Fox's stuff.
They've been shutting down.
They changed their name too, didn't
they? They do not care. Like
it's just like, what is it, Fox Pictures or something now, or?
Yes, they changed. Yeah, they changed. They gave it their own division now that's like barely exists. They're like the people in the corner.
So you got Simpsons on Disney Plus. So
yeah. I know they canceled a couple of different things. What were if you all remember any of the other like bigger upcoming like movies or franchises?
There was one. Franchise. I can't remember the name of it. Then they were. I think, were people upset about it? I think it was some animated movie about like warrior birds or something, I want to say. Don't quote me on that, but it was something in that realm of like the Owls of Ga'Hoole. Something in that. It wasn't that, but it was something in the realm of what that was. I just can't remember what it was called.
You know what I would love to see is like a Mouse Guard movie. I would love to see something like that. That'd be so cute. Anyway,
was it that? It might have been that actually.
Really?
I think it was some warrior thing. It might have been that. What, Mouse Guard? Is that what it's called?
Mouse Guard is a comic or like graphic novel series, that like it's super adorable. It's like if Lord of the Rings was if everyone in Lord of the Rings acted exactly the same, they were just as dramatic, but they were all adorable little mice. And it's amazing. And I'm like, oh my god.
Also a cartoon?
I think it's a cartoon, but
it was Mouse Guard. It was Mouse Guard. It was supposed to.
Oh wow! I remember seeing it's also a cartoon. It's an old cartoon, but it's a cartoon. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I don't know how far they got.
That was
Principal
Deduction. I think there is, because I remember seeing it. I was like, "Is this Redwall?" But they were all I saw was mice, and it seemed like a slightly darker story, if I recall.
It is, it is.
Yeah, Matt Reeves, Ross Ritchie, and Stephen Christie were supposed to produce. So production was set to start on May 2019, but 2 weeks prior to its start date, Disney, who acquired the project as part of Fox merger, halted the project, putting it in turnaround, and cited rationale being that the project didn't fit into Disney's plans for Fox.
What are their plans? That sounds so sinister. That's not what we have plans for you. Oh God. I'm wondering now, like, what they are planning with Fox. I mean, I know that they wanted. It was X-Men was under Fox, right? Like, didn't they have X-Men?
Fantastic Four.
Yeah, Fantastic Four. Which is why we had Fan Four stick. So, like, I'm sure they're in better hands now, and I'm looking forward to seeing them done right. Do we have any news about the next Fantastic Four movie? Have they talked about it at all? Because I know they're making one.
They've hinted at it. They very not so subtly just said at some point they'll be in there. Like
there's a lot of rumors. There's a lot of rumors just around the whole Fantastic Four crew. Like I know Emily Blunt, while she was filming Jungle Cruise, she met with Disney about a role. John Krasinski came out and said he wanted to play Mr. Fantastic. So
God.
A lot of people think that Emily Blunt could also play a mutant. Like,
they're
thinking because it's rumored that Rogue is going to be introduced in Captain Marvel 2, and they're talking about maybe she's that. Or, Invisible Woman. So, and there's a rumor that maybe, I was watching a video the other day, something about Thor teaming up with the Thing to fight Silver Surfer, but that seems way out there. I don't trust that. That one.
Yeah.
So.
I
Too
feel like
much
they
in one.
They were talking about Silver Surfer might get his own movie first before
Yeah.
before he joins
Yeah.
with them and everything to bring Galactus in. So there's just a lot of rumors surrounding
Yeah.
it.
At this point, they're just rumors. So. I
Yeah.
think Kevin Feige put out one tweet that said, "Yeah, I can't wait to work on the X-Men." Like
No, I feel like one day because they have some like I think an hour and a half or 2 hours scheduled for was it CinemaCon next month?
something like that.
And so they're probably gonna lay out their whole. There's like 8 movies that are untitled that they
Yeah.
listed. They're probably gonna lay out that. I'm pretty sure they're gonna say something about Fantastic Four. So
That'd be so cool. Oh my God. Okay. That's awesome. I'm excited. So what are you guys like the most excited about when it comes to like seeing the X-Men done right and seeing Fantastic Four done right? Are you more excited about X-Men, Fantastic Four? Which kind of like tickles your fancy a little bit more?
I
Well,
think
you know my answer on that one, but
just because I feel like none of everyone's pretty relatively. I was neutral to them, but I feel like everyone's been a little unhappy with almost every version of cinematic Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
If I recall.
Yes.
So that's
Yeah.
that's why I would be a little more emphasis there.
Yeah.
I love X-Men, but there's been 37 movies,
yeah.
Yes.
but I
Yeah.
think
Fantastic Four deserves to go first.
I'm just so set on John Krasinski and Emily Blunt that that's just that. If they get cast, that's like all my excitement there. So a little more hype for Fantastic Four at the moment.
Yeah. Totally understandable. I love X-Men. I'm a little bit burned out on X-Men in the cinematic universe.
He needs some breathing room so he can bring them back right. So
Yeah.
So and
like,
Fantastic Four are Marvel's first family for a reason. Like you should back first.
I
Like
mean,
they
at least there
and
have
give them
been
a proper
pretty.
origin.
At least there have been universally loved X-Men movies. I mean, Days of Future Past is pretty much known as the best one. I still think it's first class, but I mean the first 3 movies. Apocalypse is underrated. I haven't seen Dark Phoenix. It'll be a while before I see it. But
Dark Phoenix is fine. It's fine.
yeah, I can wait. I heard stuff. Not that I'm against it. It's just
the thing is,
it's a mess.
It's because of the Skrulls. The Skrulls, we can all blame the Skrulls, okay? Like, that's the reason. That's because they were going to include the Skrulls in Dark Phoenix, and then they ended up having to make it some nameless, I don't even remember. I'm sure, I think they named it in the...
Give them nameless alien names. They're Skrulls. They're literally shape-shifting aliens. That's what
and they're in the Marvel, they're in a Marvel movie. So like they had to change it because of Captain Marvel, and they had an entire fight scene that they had
changed the
planned
entire
out.
act of the movie.
Yes, the whole third act of the movie was too similar to Captain Marvel, and so since those 2 movies were coming out too close together, they had to change everything in one of them, and obviously it's not going to be Captain Marvel, so it had to be
the MCU wasn't gonna.
Okay, so I actually really wanted to talk about Animal Crossing. Have you guys seen the trailer for New Horizons?
I think I saw it.
Whatever. Brie Larson freaking out about it.
Yeah, I saw the reactions. Haven't seen the trailer or anything. So.
I am so excited. Yeah, it looks so cute and so good. The graphics look so much better than like the previous games, and it looks so fun. And I've been playing Animal Crossing Pocket Camp for quite some time. It's been like over a year at least. I don't remember when it released exactly, but yeah, I'm just so excited. So
I haven't seen a commercial. I think I saw a commercial for it where it's like this mom was playing on the couch and then her daughter walked in and it's like, oh yeah, that looks great, mom. They started playing together. Something like that. So I've seen that, but I think it's that. I'm not sure.
I wouldn't be surprised because it's definitely like something that the whole family, like any age, could play and enjoy. It's like The Sims. Like, I mean, it's a feel good, just about your day.
There was another one where a girl was playing at home and then she had like a nail appointment. And then she went to a nail appointment and then pulled it out again and started playing. So I think it's the same game. It's for Switch, right?
Aw, that is so cute.
I've never played it. So I don't really know what's in it.
Oh, it's super fun. So it depends though. Like, okay, so what you're like the only human character in any of these games. You're always like the only human character unless you can like, have friends come over and join your game, which sometimes the game features that option where they can visit your site, your campground, or your town. Most of the time it's towns. Only recently has it been campsites and campgrounds. So they're going with the vacation route, like you're on vacation. But and it's probably because none of the animals actually like do anything for a living. There's only a couple that are like shop owners, but the rest of them are just like chilling and hanging out, and they just happen to own houses and like just it's super adorable. So basically you are the only human character, and because of that, you are put in charge, usually not by choice, of an entire town of animal people. So oftentimes you're just kind of thrust in this position of authority, and you end up being elected mayor out of nowhere, and like you didn't run, and like it's just so weird. And Tom Nook is everyone's enemy because he always he gives you the opportunity to own a house, but he always puts you in debt for it, and you have to like work for for a year to pay it off. So it's really ridiculous. The way that you earn bells, which is their currency, their little bells. So the way that you earn bells is by collecting materials and selling them, or by doing things like running errands and stuff and helping people. Mostly it's just selling stuff though, and like finding things. And there's like little staple aspects of every game, just like every Nintendo game, how there's always like familiar characters and things in them. It's the same with Animal Crossing. Like there's things called gyroids. They look like little twitchy fire hydrants, and for some reason they're kind of like robots, I guess. And all of the animals know about them, and they use them sometimes. I don't know. It's really hard to explain gyroids. So they're weird. You can find fossils. You learn about different dinosaurs that way. You learn about animals because you learn about bugs and fish, and it's so cute. Anyway, I love it. And all the animals have different personality types. So some of them are mean, some of them are rude, some of them are really cute, and some of them are just grumpy. It's really cute. I love it. I'm always best friends with the cute ones. Some of them are cute. Anyway, and then there's KK. He's a dog, and he's always like completely naked. But he plays guitar, and that's his thing. So he's like the coolest one. Anyway,
naked guitar guy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because all the other animals wear at least a shirt. But he's just running around in the nude, so nobody questions it. It's just how he is. So anyway, that's the Animal Crossing. I love it. So there you go. Now you know.
I think my niece actually plays. it. If I recall, because my sister texted me like around Christmas time, was asking me, do you know any games similar to Animal Crossing to get my niece for Christmas? And I was like, I got nothing on that one. I was like, you might have to outsource that question. I was like, I know a lot of games. I don't know nothing about Animal Crossing.
I mean, I will. If you want suggestions, I can give one to you. I know that the Harvest Moon games are considered similar. Yeah, and it's like because they're cute, but you're playing a little farmer, and you're always humans though, so it's boring. But anyway, yeah, exactly. It's so cutesy because it's a cutesy art style, and like it's adorable. Like you're just you're milking your cow and stuff like that, and like you gotta collect eggs and things, but and crops. But it's like a lot more demanding, I feel like, and that's saying something because some of the animals in Animal Crossing are really demanding. Anyway, so yeah, and you can decorate your own house in Animal Crossing. It's really fun. I love it. But yeah, if you're looking for something like Animal Crossing, Harvest Moon, I guess is similar. I guess Pokemon, some Pokemon games are similar. Some of the spin-off games are similar. Like I think there's the Detective Pikachu game's pretty cutesy and pretty easy, so it'd be a nice one. to tide you over. Also, just flip like a camp, you know? I mean, like, it's gotten a lot more money hungry than it used to be, but that's fine. You know, we're adjusting just fine to it. They've drained all of my Anyway, so the next thing we could talk about is, I guess, just basically what y'all think about She-Hulk coming up, because I know that's coming up, and they've stated that it is going to be, she's going to premiere in WandaVision, right? And have a connection to Sword. Apparently there's some sort of connection to SWORD, just kind of like how it is Shield. There is Sword, and that is definitely a pun, and that is in the comics. So, yeah, we think the She-Hulk that's coming out, and all of that.
I actually didn't hear she was supposed to be in WandaVision, so that means you would already be cast then. They're already filming it. WandaVision.
She's confirmed to be in connection with WandaVision. So it says that GWW reporting is accurate. In our sources right now, like I just got switched over to the Illuminati.
That's the same article I'm looking at. So yeah,
exactly.
I was trying to go back over it myself, see if they mention like how it's tied in. It might even just be a reference to her. Who knows? So
at least, okay, so like She-Hulk herself is not going to, but Hulkling is going to be in it, and which means that it is in connection to She-Hulk. So like I presume, because they did confirm that Bruce Banner is, as we know him, Mark Ruffalo is going to be in She-Hulk, right? Like that's something that was confirmed. Double check. The last thing I wanted to talk about once we move over to it is actually how you guys feel about what's going on in the CW shows right now, because I'm really excited about it.
oh Lord.
And, have you been keeping up, Harley?
I'm so behind. I got behind again after Crisis, so I've still got to catch up with everything. I've caught little bits here and there of stuff I've found out just through because you're on the internet. So. And YouTube algorithms don't give a crap about spoilers, so I see clips of stuff all the time. I'm like, well, I guess that happened.
Yeah, it's not been confirmed that Mark Ruffalo will be joining the series, but I mean, why wouldn't he? Anyway, so that I just completely got confused about my news on that one. So do not quote me.
I do see that. I do see that Hulkling might be in WandaVision.
Yeah.
I don't know how true this is. Yeah, the Illuminati, because he dates Wiccan as one of their children. I'm assuming like they're gonna grow up to be like teenagers, and then they, like Speed probably dies. Is a rumor that one of her kids die, and it was probably Speed, and so I mean yeah. And that's probably what like causes her to go crazy and then freak out, and then that like spreads it to Doctor Strange and why he has to come in and
Yeah, and fix everything. So I was gonna ask you guys, do you think that they're going to, now that they've done the merger with Fox, do you guys think that they're going to do the familial connection to Magneto for Wanda? Like, do you feel like they might actually make her his daughter and just say, that she was that he left her or something with the family that they were with the parents they were with, or something like that? Like, you think, because they probably do that.
I think it's easy to do that if they wanted to. Like, their mutant powers could have just been dormant, and then whatever Hydra did to them just kind of triggered the X gene, and that's how they got their powers instead of them just straight up giving them superpowers. They could do that if they wanted to.
It's really good. I would be so down, because I feel like that's such a cool character struggle. Is like if they introduce Magneto, why wouldn't they? You know what I mean? He's such a pivotal villain in comic movies, comic book history. He and Doom have to be introduced into the MCU. They have to. They're very important.
Two of Marvel's best villains that don't waste them. Like, figure out a way to, like
those two and Reed Richards specifically that I need in the MCU. Like, specifically, I'm not even saying Fantastic Four. I'm saying Reed Richards. They used to be in the MCU.
We need a Marvel Illuminati team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm hoping so hard for them to have the familial connection to Magneto, because that would just be so great. It's been the cause, it's been the catalyst for so many awesome story arcs in the X-Men comics and in just Marvel comics in general, is like them having that struggle. And so I think that would be really friggin' cool to introduce that, especially because they don't do enough with Scarlet Witch, which I'm so glad they're doing the series with her, but they really need to do more with her. And I feel like that would be a great way to do it, is like to introduce more conflict with her character, is just by having her be connected to him, to this huge, crazy villain, you know? Well, actually, the worst thing about him is he's actually not crazy. He's actually one of the few that's pretty sane. Like, he just has a really bad outlook on how to solve relations between mutants and humans. So just kill them.
Yeah.
Great. Anyway, so do you guys think that they might do that, or do you feel like it's a you're not sure if they necessarily do?
I think it's possible. I think, like Jake said, I think it's possible to introduce the fact that Magneto is the twins' dad somehow. Like he's in there somehow. Maybe they were adopted by another family and never knew who their dad was. You know, because they only hinted the backstory that their parents died, but they never said their names or anything like that. So
Yeah,
they just said they died during the Stark bombs or whatever that went off in their house, or they thought were going to go off in their house.
yeah.
And it is pretty canon that he's like given, like in certain stories, that he's kind of given them up, or like at least I remember in like the cartoon
X-Men Evolution.
Yeah, where like at least Witch, like he just sent her away for a long time. So I could see them making it where it makes sense, where this villain would like be like, they don't seem to be have the mutant gene. I'm gonna get rid of them, and then after the trauma, like you said, it activates, and then he's like, oh well, you're super powerful, so yes, I do actually want you.
Yeah.
Has it changed over the years? Who knows? So.
It was like X-Men, the animated series or something. Was that one? Was that the one?
Something like that.
It was something like
they
that.
were in high school.
Yeah. Okay. So the X-Men Evolution was high school. Yeah. So that actually, I'm glad that you mentioned it, because I was just about to say, if there was one thing that I would want to see live action, and I might have mentioned this on the show before, but I really want to see X-Men Evolution live action. That is like the one thing I would love to see. It'd be so fun. Anyway, I loved that series so much. I need to rewatch it. It's really good. The writing was just like better than it needed to be. It was like unnecessarily good. Like really, and the animation too. So the last thing I wanted to talk about, if you guys are cool with moving on, is the CWverse. I know nobody except maybe me and Jake knows what the heck has been going on with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of like catch you guys up if you want. Okay, so Jake would do a better. What was that?
I said, please go ahead, enlighten me.
Okay. Awesome. So the last thing that happened in Batwoman is, oh my gosh, it's so frustrating, because her sister, because of Crisis, like her sister Beth, who's the whole like, do you know the story that's basically like behind Alice? So like
I have heard some little things here and there. So yeah.
Right. So like that one.
For sure.
Yeah, like her nemesis right now is Alice, and literally her whole motif, her whole aesthetic is Alice in Wonderland. So she calls herself Alice from Alice in Wonderland, right? So so basically, and she has like cronies and henchmen that all wear like rabbit masks, and stuff like that. And she has a cohort also, who's like her partner in crime, whose name is Mouse. That's at least because he's based on the Dormouse, I guess. And so he is someone who has the really creepy ability to make himself look like anyone else by basically imitating their face. So he can, but he uses like human skin and like actual human. Anyway, so it's really gross and creepy. So that's his thing. That's like his skill, his ability is like, he can disguise himself as anyone. So super freaky and super gross. So the thing is, after Crisis, so Alice is actually Batwoman's sister, whom she wasn't able to save as a child because they all were in a car accident. The car careened off the bridge. Batman actually tried to save them, and I believe he managed to save them except for their mom. And the sister was actually saved and she was alive, but she was lost because, they didn't find her in the accident. I think she'd been washed away or something like that. She washed downriver. I don't know. Jake would remember better than me, but basically,
he was able to pull Kate out, and then the car went over, and it just so happened they thought that she died, and just so happened she
was in the back. She survived, but the thing is, they thought that she died, and their mother did die, and so the thing is, she actually survived. But a homicidal maniac found her in the woods or just wandering around trying to look for civilization. And he found her, brought her back as a captive to his house and trapped her in his basement. And he actually had a son, and his son is Mouse. And so his son is that person who can make faces out of faces. And the way that he learned how to do that was from his homicidal maniac dad, because his dad would just do that. And his dad was just was actually trapping her because he was so convinced that no one would love his son because his son had his face mutilated or something. It was maybe a birth defect, I forgot. So his son had this, deformed face, half his face. And so he brought her back home as a playmate so that his son wouldn't be alone. And then he would never let her call her dad or anything, and he convinced her nobody was looking for her. And eventually they did have to call off the search, but they kept looking for years. And so then she started blaming their dad. Their dad became the commissioner, right? Head of the police department or whatever. And so she's, terrorizing Gotham basically out of revenge for her dad not looking for her anymore, and so she's crazy. Okay, so
did Alice kill the other guy, or did she end up seeing him as a father eventually?
I think we don't know yet. I don't think they've revealed.
No, I don't know if you saw the latest episode.
I did actually. Yeah, he's alive.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, we don't know how, I don't think we know how they got away from him, though, right? Have they not revealed that yet? I don't know.
Or if they just and then he was like, yeah, go murder.
No, they haven't showed it yet.
Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming it had to do with what he was saying. What did he get rid of the son or something? Or he pretended like he was dead so he can have his own life or something like that. Probably something.
Oh yeah, because he went away. He actually went away and became a plastic surgeon. Which I'm like, okay, that's weird. This homicidal maniac guy,
so
he just plastic surgeon.
Did he keep murdering or did he stop? I would assume he kept murdering, but maybe
probably. Everybody, what? Everybody's got a hobby. I'm just kidding. But he might still, but we don't actually know yet. So we just know that he did eventually become. Now he's a plastic surgeon, and he just kind of changed his identity because he can just do that. So anyway. So the thing is, after Crisis on Infinite Earths, which was this huge, CWverse, every superhero show on that whole channel was affected by this universe-wide event. So Beth, the Batwoman's sister, Kate's sister, actually, her sane version of herself. There was a sane version of her on another Earth, and so when the Earths all collided, a couple of the Earths combined, and so that Beth is actually alive in this Earth now. And so she came and visited Kate, and she's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And then she's like, "Who the hell? Alice? Why are you here visiting me?" And she's totally normal, and she's like, "What the hell?" And so Kate, almost oh shit, put the hurt on her, and then realized, oh my god, no, and then realized, oh my god, no, this is actually Beth, this is her, and how did this happen? They realized that both of those, Alice and Beth, cannot coincide for too long. They both started dying because they can't cohabitate the same Earth. So that's the cliffhanger we're at now. Is we don't know. We just know that the same Beth, Kate was going to save her instead of Alice because there was for some reason a conflict about that. I'm like, really? It's a no-brainer. One of them has killed people for sport, for no reason. Why would you save her? Anyway, she was actually feeling guilty though because she's like, I didn't save her before, and so maybe I could save this one now. And it's okay, but that one's actually your sister. Like this one, I don't know who she is anymore. So like, anyway. So Alice was starting to get better though because Beth got shot by their father who thought he was taking out Alice at the end of the last episode. And so yeah, it's this whole thing. And so we don't know, but we know Alice dying, but we don't know if she's going to die. We just know that she's dying and that Alice was getting better, and that Alice is really pissed because she found out in her final moments that Kate was not going to choose her. So to save. Yeah. So that's where we are now with Batwoman, and I'm really excited to see what happens. What about you guys? Do you have any thoughts? I know that was a lot. So.
It's actually getting better and better each episode. I mean, some episodes are a little shaky, but I think it's almost as good as season 1 of Arrow, at least for me. It's just found its stride a while ago, so I'm actually really enjoying the Alice plot. I actually thought it was Mouse that shot her, not the dad, wasn't it? Because he knew.
No, it was. Was he dressed in the dad's face? Was that what it was?
No, it could have been. I can't remember. It might have been.
I remember it was the commissioner, and I was pretty sure it was their dad. Because the thing is, like, the Kate's ex-girlfriend is like was in the police force, right? And she called off the shoot to kill. Like, she called off that for Alice because Kate convinced her as Batwoman to do that, right? But she didn't actually give the order over the what was it? She didn't actually give the order yet. She just herself didn't take the shot, because of that. Yeah. And so because Batwoman convinced her not to. And so I feel like it was definitely their dad, because I remembered I talked to Brendan about how poetic that was. So yeah. Yep, because he's like convinced himself that Alice needs to die, and he's convinced himself that she is not actually his daughter, even though she is. I mean, like, it's clear, the evidence all points to yes, but whatever. Anyway, he doesn't want to believe it. But no, I agree with you, Jake. I think that it's definitely, like, for me, it's really, like, that is the highest quality superhero show that I watch right now. I watch all the CW shows, and that one is top tier for me. Like, it's like the amount of cheese in it is just a little bit of cheese sprinkled in there. It's not as cheesy as, like, Flash or Supergirl, which I love. But there's definitely, like, and it's still there, but it's like a nice little tasteful amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have Alice. Alice is a really good character, so.
Yes. Oh my God, she's terrifying. And that she's from Birds of Prey. Did you guys know that?
Yeah. The actress that was in Birds of Prey back in my day of superhero shows.
That's our dad. It's true.
Back in the trial and error phase of trying to get superhero shows made, and some fail, and some, Smallville did all right. Birds of Prey.
Well, Brendan actually watched, and I saw a couple of segments of the original Birds of Prey series, because it was just prior to us watching the movie that just came out, which has very little to do with Birds of Prey. That's a different story. So, like, it's very obvious where they went wrong with the Birds of Prey show, though. Let me just go ahead and say it right now.
It's been a lot. Yeah. It's a very 2000s show.
Just based on premise.
And their hair. I mean, it's hilarious. Like,
and the music. It's very. The music for that show was everything you think it was when 2003. So, like, it's exactly the music you would hear.
Everyone's wearing tight pants, and it's hilarious. I just love it.
Pants on every character.
Yeah, like, there's tight pants, and everyone's wearing, like, because like when you're like a really kick-ass, badass chick in the early 2000s, and you got to be like a super person, like Charmed or Buffy, you had to wear tight pants and you had to wear tank tops, and they did it all the time. That's like or tube tops, and they do it all the time, and it's amazing. Then you kick butt in a tube top without exposing yourself. I'm not sure.
I guess if you glue it to your skin, that's probably what they had to do.
Probably.
But that's not how an actual person would do. It's saying
no, and it's really funny
or
because
like it's as tight as a binder, which you're not supposed to do that shit anyway.
No, yeah, it's really bad for you. Yeah, no, it's hilarious. It's just like the problem is it's really boring.
Not like you want your show.
No, for a superhero show, no, and their characters just aren't consistent, so that was their problem. But on these shows, characters can be inconsistent, but I feel like that's actually the thing that makes Batwoman so good is their characters so far have remained consistent. That's unfortunately in Flash, like I watched the most recent episode of The Flash, and it was just mostly elongated man finding Sue.
Sue Dearborn.
Yeah.
There was a thing about that kind of bugged me. How did he get beat up in the alley? It's like that wasn't supposed to happen.
And I'm like, okay, listen, dude, I get if you want to like hide your secret identity, but he's literally about to drown you. So I think it's okay if you like use your power.
It wouldn't even matter. It's an involuntary effect. It would just kick in.
Yeah,
Even if he was getting hit.
Part of his power is like it's reflex, you know?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Well, there you go.
Like the episode was on and I left it on, was kind of like just watch it in the background. I was like, what is going on? Like, I was like,
I actually liked it. I mean,
I
didn't dislike the episode. I actually liked the chemistry between Ralph and Sue, and I hope they stick with it. I actually didn't mind it. There were just certain things that were a little weird.
See, I just hate when they do that. Like they make the characters either they give them suddenly they're stupid or suddenly they're weak, and they do that a lot with Flash. And I feel like, I mean, like I write for those of you guys in the audience who don't know, like we've all like written together, right? And like we all have like our characters we've written. So one of the characters that I write is literally based on the Flash, like. Grant Gustin is his face claim. He has the powers of the Flash. That's his thing, okay? So the way that I get around him being OP, because the Flash can easily be OP, is what I do is I made his personality where he mostly doesn't want to get involved. And I feel like I know with Barry you can't do that, but I'm just saying as a writer, if you want to keep your character consistent, which you do if you want to be a good writer, you want to keep your character consistent and you also want them to have a really, really powerful superpower, then what you have to do is find other reasons for them to not want to use their powers. You have to give them reasons not to use it because otherwise they will just solve their problems like that. And that's in character for them to do and in their power set to do. That's okay. Like you have to acknowledge it though. Instead, a lot of times what they'll do with him is just make him suddenly dumb or make him, suddenly become really weirdly pacifistic. Like, okay, he was punching that guy just last episode and he went through that wall the other, you know what I mean? Like, it's like he phased through stuff by this point. He's connected with the Speed Force at this point. So like, he could solve most of their issues pretty easily, so you have to just get more creative instead of nerfing his ability for just one scene. Like, it doesn't make sense. They do that a lot. And
it's dumb for one episode, then next episode they're back to being, who they were before.
The easiest way they can do that is certain villains like Captain Cold. There's a reason why Captain Cold can actually take on the Flash. He can't really run on ice if he just, freezes on the ground. There are certain things they can do to solve that problem instead of just they randomly can't do this anymore. Like with Arrow season 1, he was putting arrows in everyone. He dropped bodies after bodies, and so suddenly season 2 he wasn't killing anymore. But the reason for that is because of Tommy died, and he's like, I'm gonna not kill people anymore in my friend's name. So that was like a reason.
There you go.
Instead of him just suddenly, I don't feel like killing anymore. It was like, why? You did it for like a year.
Yeah.
So
usually moral reasons connected with an actual event is the best way to nerf a OP character that would always just fix the story.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and absolutely.
Arrowverse has always been really bad about that. Like, I mean, I keep saying Arrow itself is just. There would be episodes where he's just taking down 6, 7, 8 guys, all with machine guns, and then suddenly some random rogue cop he gets beaten up by. So
Yeah.
Right.
or Supergirl. I mean, I feel like even if they have Kryptonian weapons, I feel like you're fast enough to avoid them.
Yeah,
But
at this point.
suddenly she isn't. So yeah.
Exactly. No, it's really frustrating because I was going to mention Supergirl next. They do that a lot with Supergirl as well, and it's frustrating to me because they've already established that she is, at least in this universe, stronger than her cousin Kal-El. So she's stronger than Superman in her universe. Okay. Well, if you're going to do that and you nerf her ability, you're insulting Superman as well. You know what I mean? Like, you're not only insulting her, but you're insulting Superman. So you're doing two characters dirty. And it's really frustrating, you know, as just a fan of superheroes and good writing in general. Like, it's just really frustrating to see that happen.
See, they have a habit of showing these incredible feats. Like she stopped like a spaceship once, and then there was a time she was literally trapped in nth metal, and she's inside a building. And to get free, she literally flew up trapped just to carry the whole building, and then drop it just to get free. I mean, that's pretty crazy. I mean, so if you suddenly she gets taken down by some random idiot with the Kryptonian gun, then that's just not good.
It's an insult at that point to her character, and then also subsequently to her cousin's character. It's very frustrating. Yeah, I agree. Speaking of Supergirl, though, and in a positive note, what did you think of the way that the last episode ended? I was so excited. I cannot wait to see. So the last episode ended with Mr. Mxyzptlk came in, and he is a crazy like imp from the fifth dimension, so he can also change forms, which is one theory that my husband had for why he's suddenly played by a different actor. Tom Lennon from Reno 911.
Oh.
I'm all on board for this. Yeah, I was like, please, yes.
I am so excited. He was in love with Kara too. So also another theory Brendan had was, which I think is totally possible, is that Crisis either changed his appearance or that we're dealing with a different Mr. Mxyzptlk from another Earth, like the Earth's fifth dimension. So what do you guys think? Oh my god.
I think I gotta catch up on Supergirl now.
Looks like they're using this to they're using this to fix the whole thing between Kara and Lena, I guess.
I don't know if
that's what it's for.
But like the last episode, she referred to Lena as her friend at least 2 or 3 times, audibly in dialogue.
Yeah, they kept saying that. They're telling that audience like they are friends.
I don't know if Cleric Alyssa knows about this problem in the fandom. If you want to explain.
Drop in.
I'll keep it as short as I can. Basically, you have shippers. I mean, you know, you can ship whoever you want, but there's a certain fan base who ships Supergirl and Lena Luthor, and which will be fine, but they sort of make their headcanons
Harley's done.
Factual. Like they're seeing things that they think is there, that they are actually secretly in love with each other on the show, and so as a result, because they're not together,
So dumb.
this makes it, they then lash out at the writers, at the actors for queer baiting them and making them think that these characters are in love with each other, when in fact they both have multiple male love interests. They keep referring to each other as friend, and they've just become very obnoxious about it, you know.
Basically, there's no chemistry between them whatsoever other than friend chemistry. And yet these shippers are so violent about their ship, and they are convinced that the show is showcasing these two characters as in love with each other when the show is not doing that. And then these fans are taking it out on the actors themselves and on their actors' spouses in real life and on the writers for queer baiting when they have not actually done that at all. I've watched through that lens, like looking for it to see what they see, and they're literally just being assholes. Like they're literally just being terrible for no reason.
I'm not a person who generally sees like the romance aspect of it. I don't always see it, but just if I pay attention, I can. It's like you looking, and it's like they're friends. Like, why can't they just be friends? I mean,
And
what's wrong with that?
just be friends. If like for people like that, like for that specific type of toxic fandom pocket, like where they're just shipping everyone with everyone, no one can just be friends with each other with those types of fans. Like they just really want to ship and they don't want to see friendship. And it's like, okay, but like
And they have a habit of any male actor that comes on the show that's even remotely linked to either Cara or Lena, they get harassed. Like Mehcad Brooks has been harassed. Melissa Benoist's husband has been harassed. A guy who played an ex-boyfriend of Lena for one episode got harassed.
Yeah.
So pretty much any Blake Jenner, he deserved the harassment, obviously. But pretty much anytime there's even I remember when they cast Thomas Lennon, I saw a tweet that said stop adding men to Supergirl. And it's like anytime a guy comes on the show doesn't mean they're automatically gonna date your ship characters. So I mean it's a whole cluster.
Also, I'm not sure if you're aware, but men exist in the world, and that's realistic. Like, yeah, there's already I get it if there wasn't enough female representation on Supergirl, I would totally understand them having that perspective because it is a girl power show. It's it should empower women, it should be female focused. I totally get that. But it is female focused. Exactly. They're already doing a good job of that. They do make sure that it is majorly women. And they even have LGBTQ representation on the show regularly, and they make sure of it because isn't the head of the CWverse in that community himself? Yeah, and so
married
the writers include, those marginalized groups, and I'm glad that he does. But it's like that's never enough for certain fans. Certain fans are just they're not. So that's what's going on with that.
There's a whole lot more to it, trust me. But yeah, that's just like a very nutshell version of it. They're just.
I think I'm not familiar enough to really have too much thought other than don't ever harass actors.
Right.
Like I think that one's very easy. I don't need to know personal things for it. So it's like don't harass actors no matter how you feel.
Yeah.
They are whatever you're gonna have a problem with is definitely nothing they can do about it because they're not like don't harass anyone, but like have your opinions enough. But if you go and bother actors directly or anything like that,
like apparently Melissa Benoist, she's the girl who plays Supergirl. If she ever posts pictures of her and her husband together, she has to disable comments. Yeah, because they'll just harass her husband just for being with her and not being Lena. And it's like they're real people with real marriages. Like anyway,
just don't harass actors. I do believe queer baiting is a thing. I don't know if it's in the show. I don't feel comfortable making an opinion there.
I personally don't believe it is. From what I've seen, I don't personally believe that it's in this show, but it does happen.
It does happen. I mean,
it definitely happens.
It happens on actual shows. They do that. And I even think this season in particular, I think I've admitted that I think this season they are kind of queer baiting a little bit. Like they're doing this, like she keeps having to carry her like Superman carries Lois. And it's just certain things they're doing that is a little bit. You're not helping this. If you're trying to distance yourself away, you're not doing yourself any favors.
But I will say that could depend on who's directing the episode because the last episode they seemed very, very against queer baiting, and they were very specifically. They seemed to be trying to damage control any queer baiting that had happened previously because they emphasized multiple times in dialogue Supergirl called her friend, and unless that was her trying to throw people off the scent, I don't think it was. You know what I mean? But very clearly they're friends, like just
but even that I did actually see someone say, oh, Kara said I can't even fix my friendship with Lena. I'm not gonna have a relationship with someone, and it kind of turned that into another parallel. So I mean, it's there's no hope. You just gotta let it go and just
no win scenario at this point.
Yeah,
it's funny because they tried to boycott. They wanted to boycott it based on the promo for when William asked Carr on a date, which is literally like a 2-minute thing. Didn't even happen. And so they wanted to make it seem like it was a bunch of issues, like they're shuffling all their female characters to the side for these male characters, and they're burying the LGBT characters. I agree they should not have made Wynn's wife that character. You could have kept that character in a female relationship. You could have done that. They didn't have to, change that. But I mean, because who was it? Lightning Lass, I think. She's the character was with the male character. She was with the guy for a while because comic books they couldn't really do anything outside of alluding to homosexuality because of the times. But then once they could, she was in a relationship with a woman. And so it's been like that for like years. I think it's Lightning Lass from Legion of Superheroes.
She should canonically be at least bisexual, if not just straight lesbian. And so
but I feel like
they changed that. See, that sucks. That's not.
I feel like they could have. You didn't have to use that character. He could have been married to anyone. So that was something I agree with.
Married at all because I'm sorry, I ship him with Supergirl. I think that he is an adorable nerd and he's a big dork and so is she, and I always want them together. And he always had a crush on her. At least I thought so, but I could.
Yeah, that's the thing from I remember in Justice League Unlimited. That's why Supergirl left. She went to the future because she met Brainiac and they had a little flirtation going, and she left to go with them to the Legion of Superheroes towards the end of that series. Because she fit in than she did Justice League, so she left.
Yeah, it can totally happen where shows they do it not just with LGBTQ characters or fandoms, but they do it also just they bait audiences with shipping in general all the time, and it is incredibly annoying. Something when it's queer baiting, obviously that's not cool, but I do see how that happens often in shows, and it doesn't make it right. I think that it's lame and scummy if they do it at all. And I think that it's really a cheap way to try to get views, out of people. But I will say personally, I have not seen it between Lena and Kara in Supergirl. So that's my personal opinion.
Not there. It's just not there. I mean, you can ship them all you want. That's fine. That's just harmless shipping. You can ship anyone you want, but I mean, you don't have to harass people over it.
It becomes a problem when you're sending death threats to people, stuff like that. It's it's a show. It's your fictional show. Your headcanon, There's real things in the world going on. Relax.
None of us sent death threats when they didn't put Oliver with Laurel. So I mean.
Honestly, I mean that one I agree with. Not sending death threats, but but I agree with that ship.
No death threats. Just don't do it.
Yeah, no death threats, no threatening, no harassment, please. Just don't do it. Just say no.
The writer of the show. I'm sorry. That's what you have fan fiction for. You don't try to tell the writers how to write their show.
Exactly.
You just can like it or not like a decision they made, and you go from there. You can always stop watching.
Yes, exactly. I 100% agree. And I think that is a good place for us to end it. If you guys are chill with that. So I'm going to say just once again, thank you guys so much for watching. And again, if you could please leave a like, that really helps us out. If you also would like to become knighted in our medieval army, please remember to stab or shoot lightning bolts at the subscribe button. It really helps us. We're trying to build an army, a medieval army, and you can be a part of that army. Also, if you'd like to, you can become a patron on our Patreon. We do have a Patreon. I will always leave the link in the description of all of our videos so that you can join that for exclusive content. Thank you guys so much again for watching, and we will see you guys next time. Bye!